Hello and welcome to episode number 29 of the Nintendo Jump Podcast. We are a weekly discussion podcast created for Nintendo gamers by Nintendo gamers. It's the week of January 7th. I'm Daryl, and today I'm once again joined by Sergio.
Hello, everyone.
And Kevin.
What's good, everybody?
How you guys doing today?
Pretty decent. 29, gonna get to 30 soon. We've been doing this for a while, so I'm revved up. We got some awesome things to talk about, as expected, so yeah.
Yeah, I'm personally excited for our Nintendo Direct reaction episode. Oh, wait.
Oh, what? Jokes!
Sorry.
It didn't happen today.
All right. So, yeah, jokes, obviously. Kevin, what are we talking about today?
Well, Daryl, I'm gonna tell you what we're gonna talk about today. We got a couple things right in our alley. We got the Backlog Busters, where we're gonna be talking about our games in our backlog, whether we're almost done with the games, halfway done, somewhat done, a little bit done, or haven't started at all. And then we got some, you guessed it, listener mail. Oh, dang. This is going to be awesome. We got some pretty awesome questions coming your way. Stay tuned for that.
Well, nice. Let's get on into it then.
All right. So, Backlog Busters. It actually sounded worse than I thought, but anyway. All right. So, Daryl, what is in your Backlog Busters catalog?
All right. So this category was actually this episode is kind of a very listener centric episode. This category was brought up by a couple members of our Discord. We've created what they're calling kind of a support group for those of us with insanely long backlogs of games that we've either partially played or we haven't played at all, but we actually own for some reason. And we keep getting more games because that's the way of things. Anyways, so yeah, we've each come up with a few games that we want to talk about. What they are, why they're in our backlog, and if we ever intend to actually play them. So I'm gonna jump in. The first game I want to talk about is Xenoblade Chronicles 2, Torna the Golden Country. This is the DLC pack for Xenoblade Chronicles 2, which I really, really enjoyed. And when they announced it, I had zero intention of actually getting the DLC because I was extremely happy with how that game ended, and I was just going to kind of let it sail on, right? And it's one of those weird occurrences where I was just so satisfied with the game, I honestly didn't want more of it. I just kind of wanted
that's
it.
strange.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't have another game that I can even compare that to. This is maybe one of the first for me, but I really did like the game. And then so now it's a few months after I've actually played Xenoblade, and Torna did come out, and it got just incredible reviews from everybody from critics to people who played the original game, just saying it's flat out better, and they've tweaked a lot of the mechanics, and the story is tighter.
Dang.
Yeah, I eventually just was like, you know what, I gotta get this. So I just got it a couple days ago. I have not started it yet. I'm not entirely sure when I'm gonna start it, but I think it'll be in the next week or so probably. I've been kind of focusing on some other single player games recently, trying to make space.
Nice. Now, this is the game that you don't need the standard Xenoblade Chronicles 2 to play it, correct?
Yeah, that's right. Actually, it came as a separate physical release, and I got that just because I'm still a member of the Gamers Club unlocked at Best Buy, so I get 20% off. And that makes it
excellent,
roughly the same price as the digital version of it. And in this case, I can resell it if I ever want to, or I can keep it. But I actually at least have that option. So yeah, I decided to go with the physical, and I just like it.
Now, I understand this is a prequel, right? So coming from someone like me who played up to Chapter 5 and I still want to finish it, is it bad to play the prequel now, or should I just wait till I finish the game and then play the prequel? Because, I've seen some of the trailers, I've seen some of the gameplay from the Nintendo Treehouse, and it looks really awesome, but I feel like I owe it to myself to finish the game first, the main story of Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and then go to Torna. What do you think about that?
So, yeah, I personally heard that actually is the way to do it. Just go ahead and beat the first game, or beat the base game, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
But I do want to say you don't necessarily have to. It just actually just adds to the lore. I think it's meant to be kind of the
Right.
obvious prequel, not not played in that order. But we'll see. It's actually one of the questions I had was they made the decision to sell this as a standalone, and apparently the mechanics are a lot better than Xenoblade, so maybe it's a better entry point. So it'd be interesting to see do the Star Wars thing and actually play it in order. I wonder what that would feel like.
And I'm curious about the length of the game. I mean, if it's considered DLC, but it was sold on its own, and I know Xenoblade Chronicles 2 was a pretty lengthy game as is, I wonder if this one it's kind of on par. I would expect it to, and if it is, man, that's kind of quite impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Reportedly it's shorter, which I think is actually a good thing. A lot of what people are saying about why it's better is that it is just kind of a tighter experience, less
Right.
fluff stuff to do.
Right.
Which I'm never ever gonna 100% Xenoblade Chronicles any of them. I'm not going to because there's way too much. But
Sure.
So I don't know. I'm looking forward to it.
Nice.
No, it's definitely a pretty good game to just add to the backlog, and I this is a big motivator for me to finish the base game of Xenoblade Chronicles 2. So yeah, like you, I don't know if I'm gonna 100% complete it, because man, like for a while I was really onto that, get all the rare blades and stuff, and always try to just hoping that I can get a rare blade every time I do that process where you add you unlock those, oh shoot, what was it called again? I'm drawing a blank. It's
Like
the boost,
cores.
the cores, yeah, the core crystals and the boosters and all that. I was like, yeah. I remember I was doing that for the last session I had of Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I was doing that for about a few hours, I was just grinding for those crystals and just trying to boost just enough so that I have a higher chance of getting certain rare blades. But I mean, anyway, enough of that.
After about the 100th of the same blade, I was like, okay.
Yeah.
All right, Sergio, what about you? What do you want to talk about?
So I guess the biggest game in my list of backlog, and funny enough, my backlog started like a lot of good things in life. It started because of Animal Crossing. So we know the game is coming to the Switch, and I want to get a couple of really big games done before I go on my 2 or 3 year vacation and I don't get a chance to play them. And honestly, the biggest one by far, at least to me, because of former Zelda fan, it's indeed Zelda Breath of the Wild. And
Ooh.
I did play it, when the Switch came out. I played for about 60 hours total. And then Mario Kart came out, and then ARMS, and then Splatoon 2, and bye Zelda. But
Yeah.
so I'm actually going to start from scratch, and I'm looking forward to that in the sense that I'm gonna enjoy the benefits of the DLC right from the get go. And it's been so long that I don't remember where I am, what I'm supposed to be doing. So it should be fine to restart. I mean, I had fun those 60 hours, so it should be fun again. And then I'll continue on and hopefully finish the game with enough time to beat a couple of others that I'll talk about.
So how far did you actually get into it?
I beat one of the 4 beasts, and
Oh wow!
I was
so
looking
you got
for
a lot
the
of
second
dude.
one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
I love that. 60 hours in, you got I got one done.
but that really tells a story where you spend a lot of time exploring, like all around. I'm sure you've done that,
Right.
like with the 60 hours, just going all around the land, and whether it's like the snowy area or the hot desert, or it's just, I think that's I mean, and that is a really great way to play Breath of the Wild, because I mean it's meant to be an open exploration type of game. So
Right.
I know I had one of my friends who did just try to rush through all the dungeons as fast as he can, and I mean credit to him, like he did a good job with that. But I think a good there's always that exploration part, because then when you find that item or that sword or that weapon that is like, whoa, that's so dope, and you just and it's just like, whoa, it's like if you feel like you are that little kid that you used to be, where you find these little things, and it's just like, it just makes you feel really great, like, oh man, like it's just so exciting, just bits and pieces, even though it's like just a small weapon, but it feels like a big world. in just a small game, or not even a small game. It's a pretty big game. Oh man, what am I saying? But yeah, it's just I guess just it's a larger than life thing. That's my point.
Yeah, I tell this story a lot, but I had a couple friends and I were playing it at launch at the same time, and so you start out on the Great Plateau, and then it tells you, hey, you can go over here. All of my friends went different directions off the Great Plateau and just went and saw what they could see immediately.
Nice.
I was the rule follower. I actually went and saw Impa. Just I'm glad I did. But then most people start with the Zora or the dungeon that's connected to the Zoras.
Mhm.
I refused to. I was like, no, I don't want. That's the easy. No, I don't want to do that. So I wandered around for a really long time, just looking around, finding things, and eventually wound up at the lizard, which is up on Death Mountain by the Gorons. And that was an interesting one to start with.
Oh man, dang, that's like the lava area too. I mean, you had to figure out how to get that heat suit and all that. I mean,
Yeah.
that's
That was my first divine beast. Yep.
that's a really good one to be your first. Yeah.
What about you, Kevin?
Yeah. So one game that was recommended by Llama Libre, so shout out to Llama Libre, that I picked up. I've only played about an hour, and I feel disappointed that I didn't play it, much after that. But I want to again. Battle Chef Brigade. It is a puzzle and brawler video game developed by Trinket Studios and published by Adult Swim Games. Shout out to Adult Swim. I used to watch them cartoons back in the day. I mean, I got great memories of that. But yeah. Anyway, so about the game, it's like a cooking game. You're basically on this journey to, just compete in cooking competitions, and there's the brawler aspect of it where you fight these monsters that can give you, these ingredients that you can use for battle, and then in the competition, it's kind of like Tetris, sort of, where you have to you have to match like certain rows and stuff, and you do a combination of those, and you try to get the most points and all that. So it's pretty. It's very lighthearted. I feel like the writing it's there's a bit of comedy into it, and like the art style is, it's hand drawn, it's unique. It reminds me of Child of Light. Not so much watercolor, but just that hand drawn feel, and it's always attractive to my eyes. And yeah, it's a pretty well. I would like to say it's a pretty awesome game. I just wish that I could have put more time, but unfortunately, due to other games that came down the pipeline, that just got more of my attention, which I do regret. Battleship Brigade would be the first game I'm gonna pick up from my backlog and continue.
That's a weird game for me because it came out and it got just stellar reviews everywhere, and every time I look at it, I'm just like, ugh. It doesn't look appealing to me, and I don't know why. Nothing about it looks all that great to me, but everybody talks really highly about it. So it's one of those that I just kind of wonder, maybe I'm wrong.
No, it's all good. I mean, maybe, different strokes, different folks. I feel like maybe there's certain art styles that appeal to you more, and there's art styles that appeal to me more. So I think that I think it's just one of those things, and there's nothing wrong with that. So. I mean, for example, for me, there's certain games I just would not, okay, that the Pokken tournament, okay, at first I thought it was really appealing, I thought, oh, okay, Pokemon, but then man, it just doesn't. I don't know why so many people like it. It feels kind of off to me as I'm sorry for saying that. It feels kind of off to me as a fighting game, and. I don't know why. Maybe it's just because I came from a Street Fighter sort of mentality where I'm used to that sort of thing, or Smash. It was just kind of off, and I can't explain it. But a lot of people raved about this game, and I'm like, man, I want to like this game, but I just can't because
I don't like Pokken, so yeah, I'm in the same. And that's one I actually picked up and gave it a good shot twice, once on Wii U and once on Switch, and just no.
No. Oh man, you know what? It's all good because, this just goes to show that there are certain games that are pretty popular, but it may not be your cup of tea, and that's okay.
Well, it's led to me definitely keeping an eye on Battle Chef Brigade. Just to, eventually, there's actually a fair chance I'll play it just out of curiosity. Because it's so highly spoken of, and it's so like counter to my initial expectation that that's the kind of game that kind of intrigues me in a weird way. So I'll probably give it a shot at some point.
Yeah, definitely. Hope you do, because I know I want to get back into it. So
Nice.
Mhm.
So yeah, my second game to talk about here would be, and this is technically cheating because the game is not out until tomorrow, but it's Tales of Vesperia, and
Ooh.
this is like the definitive edition of one of the best, reportedly one of the best Tales of games in the series, and that is an RPG series that I just have never really gotten into. I played a good little bit of Tales of the Abyss on 3DS. I played a very, very tiny amount of Tales of Phantasia on GameCube, and because I never actually owned that game, and that's it. That's my Tales of experience, and it's one of the biggest RPGs, most loved RPG series in the world. So I feel like overall I've kind of been missing out. So it's coming out on Switch tomorrow, and I'm gonna pick it up.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about the Tales series too. I actually picked up Tales of the Abyss on the uh 2DS. Oh, excuse me, 3DS. I had a 2DS, but for the 3DS, and the battle system is very, very different than what I'm used to. It was actually surprisingly hard, like trying to figure out how to, control like it's in a 2D plane, but it's like you got to figure out how to maneuver, each character at the same time, and just it's like real
Yeah, for
active
sure.
yeah, and real active battle. And for me, I was so used to the whole Final Fantasy turn-based style where you have like that ATB, that active time bar, and I don't know. It's pretty unique. I just never really got into it as I wanted to. So maybe this would be it. Tales of Vesperia.
Nice. Yeah, like you said, this is one of the RPG series that I want to get into at some point. This is gonna be a perfect jumping on point, but I'm doing the smart thing, and since I'm not gonna play it yet, I'm not gonna buy the game yet, and that's very
There we
unlike
go.
me. So I'm doing the
Shots
smart thing for once.
fired.
Uh-oh.
No, I
Well,
mean, so in my defense, RPGs are known for being fairly short, quick plays. So, as long as I list as many RPGs as possible on my backlog list, I'll be okay, right?
Yeah,
yeah,
man, you
you should
you
be good.
actually finish games, so you'll be good.
Well, I try to, and I'll do the responsible thing and get this game and then hype it up like crazy, so both of you are really super jealous. So yeah,
Oh yeah.
that's what I'll do, and I'll just spread the disease a little bit more.
I mean, you already got us with Crystal Chronicles. I feel like we owe it to ourselves to play that game because I personally completely
Yes.
missed the game. So.
Yeah, oh yeah. Speaking of, that's my drop everything and play that game whenever
Oh,
it
nice.
actually drops. Yeah,
Oh
that'll
man.
be the screw the backlog. This one's number one. Okay, Sergio, what's your next one?
I'm gonna bundle two of them that are really good: Super Mario Odyssey and Celeste. And
Ooh.
I expect a lot of good things from Celeste, and I don't know how I'm gonna like Odyssey. I'm gonna give it my full attention. I wanna like it, but I don't know. Something about it kind of doesn't fully convince me, but should be a good experience.
Is that based on playing it or just what you've seen?
What I've seen, I did play a little bit. I think I got about 12 moons, and that's pretty much nothing. And then Rocket League say, "Hey, come back," and I, I
Hey,
obeyed.
hey, dude, soccer and cars, come on over here. You're like,
Yeah.
okay.
I mean, it's a pretty awesome game, so I don't blame you.
I thought Odyssey was fun, and I thought I thought it was a good time. I was not one of those that got 900 and whatever moons. I played through it, got done with it. I thought it was good, and then I kind of did the okay. I got other stuff, and eventually I'll talk about this in a little bit, but I'll pull my Mario cycle and get back into it and really like it. I'm sure, but yeah, for now it's a good game. I'll keep it, and yeah, I'll play it here and there.
Yeah, for me, Super Mario Odyssey was one of those games that I had to finish as quickly as possible. Just like, not to get the 900 moons, but more so just the main game. The post game I haven't really dived into much yet, but I was just so addicted to the gameplay and like the the music, and it just felt so. It just felt. I love the jazzy feel of it. Man, it got me going to places. I felt light on my feet. My shoulders were popping in a good way, not in a bad way. Because if it was a bad way, then I'd be in the hospital. But I mean, it was just really nice. Like I'm telling you, and
I like the music too a lot.
Yeah, and then there was this one mini game where you have to I think it was in New Donk City, and then you had to you're like this little mini RC car and you're trying to get the fastest time.
Yeah, that's fun.
There was one guy, I believe his name was Dragon. Okay, this is the first time I noticed this guy, right? Besides Goner, I knew he was, and he and I were competing against in that game. Shout out to Dragon, you're awesome, obviously. And I just noticed man, who got this really fast time? I gotta beat this guy. Dragon? Oh, it's the guy from Goner. So I was like, all right. So I basically just went through as many times as I could until I beat a score, and then so I got a faster time than him, but then I think he probably got a faster time than me after. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. But I just knew that at that moment.
As long as you don't check, it's not official. So
it's not right. As long as I don't check, it's not official. Because
going out on top is a very valid path as well. That's fine. Also, everybody remembers their first interaction with the dragon. I mean, that's just...
Oh man, he's. I gotta tell you, man. I mean, for someone like him who is, used to be #1 in the world for Mario Tennis Aces, and just the humble character that he is, I think that, he's a good dude, and man, the guy is really good at a lot of games. So even Rocket League as well. So. I think that's what keeps me going, especially with this sort of competition. And it all started with the Goner and Super Mario Odyssey, that mini game. So
awesome. Nice. What's your next game, Kevin?
My next game, point and click adventure game, Thimbleweed Park. It is a game developed by Ron Gilbert, who was the boss of one of my favorites, Tim Schafer. I mentioned him like a million bazillion times. So this game is a spiritual successor to, the classics like Maniac Mansion, and The Secret of Monkey Island. So point-and-click adventure games, those are, the legendary games, and this is just basically trying to, a spiritual successor, and it's pretty awesome because it's set in the late 80s, and if you were to pick it up today, you would have thought that, wow, this is was this actually made in the late 80s? Because just the UI, the way the dialogue, and some of the eerie environment, because you're supposed to investigate a murder, and then you go along the way as these two investigators, or FBI agents, and then their names are Ray and Reyes, and these agents are just trying to figure out, what happened, why did this person die, and then you meet all these eclectic, these really eccentric characters, and yeah, it's just a pretty fun game, just to be that detective and going around and trying to pick up the clues and figure out this mystery, but then, so I was doing that for about 5 hours, and then Badoom, another game of my interest came around and said, "Hey, Kevin, you gotta play that game. You gotta play that." I think it was was one of the big releases last year. I think it could have been Super Mario Odyssey, because this came out in late September, and then Odyssey came out the next month. I was like, oh well,
Yep.
Too bad. I'm gonna switch over. I'm like, oh man, I felt so bad though, because then.
Oh, that's rough too, because you were probably fairly close to the end, and jumping back into a point and click adventure is going to be
very
hard.
Gosh, I mean, because Mario, you got to finish Mario, right? But then, I mean, gosh, and Thimbleweed Park was pretty much neglected park. It was just neglected, and I felt so bad. And I mean, I got to a good chunk of the game too. I believe I'm maybe 30-40%. I don't know, but just based off of what I'm seeing and how I think I'm, I thought I'm around that area, because there's still, I feel like there's more than half the game left. But anyway, So I definitely recommend this game. Coming from someone who hasn't finished it, but if you're a point-and-click adventure fan, you got to try this out.
It looked really funny. I considered it briefly. It's not my favorite genre of game, but the dialogue looked really
Yeah,
really funny.
and that's what these point-and-click adventure games are known for. Is just the dialogue gets you going. They're witty. They're some of the things they say are hilarious, and just gets my shoulders popping and like and slide on my feet. Because then, especially when I discover something that maybe I shouldn't have, or like I'm like it's like that aha moment, and I just get off my seat and I'm like, oh, okay, that's how you solve that piece. So
Cool. Yeah, my next game would actually be Guacamelee 2.
Ooh.
So you guys have heard me talk about Guacamelee
sure have.
on this cast. It's one of my favorite. Yeah, it's one of my favorite Metroidvania games. Period. Hard stop. I think it's an extremely good game. Really, really well made. Gets a little bit of criticism for kind of diving into like the meme culture a little bit, but honestly, that's not. I didn't see it as overdone or anything. I thought it was funny, and the game was so tight and fun to play. It's really good. And everything I heard about Guacamelee 2 is just it's more of that but better. And so I got it. I got it on release, and it released right around the same time that a bunch of other stuff did, including Smash Brothers. So
Oh.
it's been just kind of sitting there looking at me for a little bit. And for some reason, even when I'm clearing these single player games that I want to play, I keep kind of skipping over it. I really can't explain why, because I really do like the game, but it just hasn't risen to the top yet. But I will play it, and yeah, it's definitely got to be pretty high on my list of actual priority games.
Nice. Yeah, no, sometimes you have a game that you're gonna play at some point. Like you definitely know, but you feel like playing something else that you might not feel like in the future. So you kind of go with that. Yeah, I definitely get that feeling.
Yeah, like right now, I'm playing Into the Breach, and
Ooh,
that
yeah.
was just kind of a whim buy because Amazon discounted it to $10. I was like, okay, this was a game that was nominated for Indie of the Year, and it's $10. Okay, okay, I'll try it out. Turns out no, it's not. Celeste is, but that's okay. It's still a fun, tight strategy game, and I like it. But this is about the third or fourth game that I've chosen over Guacamelee, and I just need to kind of kick myself into gear and actually go back and play it because I'm actually really looking forward to playing Guacamelee right after I finish all these RPGs.
I just appreciate the lore of just the lucha libre, or excuse me, oh sorry, luchadors and the mask. Because I remember, this is somewhat related. I used to watch Jackie Chan Adventures, and there was this one episode where they were there was a talisman that a luchador had, and I just thought it was so cool, like the mask and like just the fighting, and like I felt in tune with like the way they set that episode, the stage, and when I heard about Guacamelee, like, oh wow, Jackie Chan Adventures sort of for the one episode. I mean,
Oh goodness.
even though it had like, I mean, I'm just reaching for that connection, but it. I did play it on the PS3 a long time ago, but I just I, I didn't finish it. Like I probably played like an hour, and then like y'all said, like there's always that game that maybe it'll take away from a game that you want to play, but then you end up playing the other game, and game like Guacamelee just gets left in the dust. So I'm like, oh no, that sucks.
Yeah, and I'm kind of the same way. I love the lore of this game. Actually, it's centered around like it has kind of a dark world concept that you travel between the light world and dark world. The dark world is actually the land of the dead, which is ripped straight from like trying not to be offensive. Is ripped straight from like Mexican culture.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. I love the setting. I love all of it. Like there's a movie called The Book of Life. I think is utterly fantastic. I like everything like that. So the fact that the game was kind of steeped in that lore and you actually got to travel these really fun worlds, both in the quote unquote light world and dark world, it was a lot of fun to me. I really liked what they did with that game a lot. So that's it for me. Sergio, next one.
Yes, I have three quick mentions to sort of round out most of my list, and it's funny that as I'm looking at my list, it's all on the Switch, and I'm kind of happy and glad about that. Kind of tells you how much I like this system. So the first one is Starlink Battle for Atlas, and
Okay.
it's funny because that game clicked for me fairly early on. I liked it. I got some DLC, actual little figurine weapons, so I was good to go. But that was about the time when Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee came out, and I kind of gravitated towards that. So, but I'm looking forward to coming back to Starlink. The other one is Hollow Knight, which I've heard many great things since way back when this was supposed to be coming out to the Wii U and it was out on the other systems. Dragon actually reminded me recently that I was really hyped for it. When they announced it at E3 that it was the surprise drop, it's out now kind of thing. I gasped like you wouldn't believe. And I got the game and I played it a little bit and then Rocket League called me again. Man, that game.
Man, yo,
That's
Rocket
gonna-
League is like your best friend. I swear.
I'm sensing a theme here.
Yeah, I mean, you.
So, yeah.
Like Kevin and I are all listing different games that we put these games down for. Yours is all Rocket
Yeah,
League.
Rocket League. I mean, I'm just thinking, Sergio, 3 a.m. wake up time for Rocket League. Sergio, 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. Rocket League. I mean, it's just like, man.
Hey, I'm not asking you to drop Rocket League. I'm asking you to spend like 1 hour a day playing something else. Just
Right.
one.
It's not too bad of a commitment. So I mean,
Yeah. No, we're getting there. We have to because the big one is coming with Animal Crossing. And the third and last mention, and this is a big one. It's Octopath Traveler. And
Ooh.
you know, when it came out, we all three got it, and I liked what I played. I've been wanting a classic RPG like this for a long time, so I know I set it aside, but I'm looking forward to coming back to it. I like the fact that it has great music in it as it is, which is great, but it's also a game that's perfect to play while listening to music or while listening to other podcasts or this podcast.
yeah,
So
especially this
there-
podcast.
yeah, so that adds a reason for me to want to play it. Hopefully, I get a chance to finish this one also before Animal Crossing.
Yeah, I mean, you've heard me talk about it. I loved Octopath. I really did.
I just can't get enough of the music and the 2.5D art, the battle sequences, and as Daryl mentioned from last episode, the little interactions between different side characters that you find out during the game or you get to encounter. So,
All right, Kevin.
I mean, y'all know what I'm going to talk about. The Legend of Heroes Chosen the Sky, second chapter. Nah, I'm just kidding. No, it's not that. No, I know that y'all have heard me talk about that umpteen times. I mean, it's way too much. So I'm gonna tell you right now, one game that Daryl actually mentioned earlier, Into the Breach. I do want to finish that game, but here's my dilemma. Okay, so as a person who likes to play turn-based strategy video games, I demand perfection. And perfection, I mean, no unit in my arsenal can die. So when I had that mentality, which I shouldn't have, in the first level, I mean, yeah, like I made it past the first level, but one of my units died. DIED died. Okay, like it, and I'm just like, man, I gotta restart the level. So I did. I did it 4 times. I did another time, so 5 times. And oh gosh, like I'm like, how can I get a perfect? How can I not lose any units? And it's not, and also not even that. It's just like some of the buildings too, like because you know the buildings that are in the grid, those I count as my units. I can't lose any buildings.
Oh,
You know, bleep that. And I really wanted to just try to get perfect, but that was the mentality that I had that prevented me from continuing past the first level. And I'm really sorry for saying that because you're probably thinking, well, Kevin, that is the stupidest thing. Why would you prevent yourself from continuing the game just because you want to be Mr. Perfect? Well, you know what? I'm not going to I'm going to let it go. So when I continue back this game, if I lose a unit, too bad. Because when Fire Emblem 3 Houses comes out, and that is my most anticipated game besides War Group, I can't have that perfection mentality anymore because we have a jumped pack. where if you lose a unit,
I have broken you.
yeah, I know. Oh my god, I'm just like, man, what? I just can't be that perfection guy anymore. I just got because in real life, you can't always be perfect. You gotta just go with. You gotta roll with the punches. You gotta tough it out. If I lose a unit, whatever. I'm just gonna keep playing the game. So
Nice.
Yeah, you need to drop that for that game.
I have to
Just
I mean,
because, like, you can play the levels perfect, but it is extremely hard.
yeah,
Uh,
it's like, and I'm trying to think like, what can I do? And then like things just happen. I'm like, man, it just throws me off my rhythm. So I just gotta stop having that perfection mentality. So
and there's no easy way to restart it either. Like,
Right.
every time you restart it, you got to like restart the whole thing. And it's not,
Oh.
I mean, it's not crazy long, but there's like definite runs of the game that it's different. They call it different timelines that you're jumping into, but it basically just restarts everything when you actually reset it. So you can't, if you make a mistake in a level, you can't like quickly stop and change that.
Yeah.
It's done.
that added time really debilitated. If that is even the right word for it, it just like kind of discouraged me from continuing. So
Yeah, I will say if you lose, so if one of your mechs gets destroyed, the pilot commanding them dies, but it doesn't actually do anything long term. All it does is it removes that unit from that single fight. And then if that pilot has any bonuses that they added to it, obviously those are gone too for the next level.
Oh,
but
okay.
it then gets this AI control for the next level, and the next one's going forward. So like you get that mech back. It just may not be quite as powerful, but it doesn't actually do that much.
yeah, and that's well with the perfection mentality. You're just like, man, that's unacceptable. I want to get it perfect, but yeah, I mean, I just gotta play it as it is in life. I mean, if that happens, I just have to go with it, even if the unit is not as powerful as it was before. I mean, I can't let that ruin my experience. So
Yeah, it's a fun, interesting game. It's kind of curious to me, a few of the design decisions that I'll talk about at some later point.
for sure,
But I am enjoying it. I keep going back to it. So yeah.
good stuff.
All right, my last game on this list is. Thankfully, it's not another. It actually is another RPG. Valkyria Chronicles.
Ooh,
Yeah. So this is. I'm a sucker for sales. I really am. So this one went on sale for $15.
that's a good deal.
Yeah, it's a game that I've heard people call their favorite game ever, and it's really, really highly reviewed. People like the port of it. Everybody seems to recommend the game. So yeah, I ended up picking it up. I mean, if you kind of take with everything that I've said, I really have no idea when I'm ever going to get to this game, but I am going to get to it because I like the style of game that it is. It seems to have a good story and is really character focused. So I definitely want to play it, and that's why I got it. I buy games kind of in preparation for those. I'm gonna get on a plane or a rainy Saturday or whatever. I just want to play this one game. So when I want it, it'll be there.
No, that's cool. And I'm gonna talk about Llama Libre again. He actually recommended me to try out Valkyria Chronicles 4, and like I mean the art style, the way it's played, the tactics, like it's a pretty awesome game to get into. So, and I do like the fact that you said that like a rainy Saturday kind of game because I feel the same way about other games like the Dark Side Detective. That was like one of my rainy Saturday games that it was just nice to play while it was raining outside or when I'm having coffee at a coffee shop. So
Yeah, that was Faerun to me.
And I like the fact that you mentioned, you got it on sale. So definitely it feels less bad when it's waiting in your backlog because you didn't pay full price for it or like on release and then it's something that you just really didn't get into and you paid full price and it's just waiting there. Yeah, so getting
Oh,
something on sale, it's a good thing.
you know what? When you mentioned that, I just thought of Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle. I got it at full price, and I only played a couple hours, and I never played it again. I was like, no, what am I doing?
Ouch.
Yeah, I know. I was such an idiot because
I got it full price. I played it all the way through the main story, got kind of resentful of it by the end of it, and sold it instantly. I was like,
Man.
I'm done.
yeah.
Yeah, and the worst is when you do that, you get a game for full price, you don't play it and then you see it dropping and dropping and dropping in price.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! Great, thanks guys. I feel a lot better now.
New sealed copy of Mario and Rabbids, $20.
Oh my gosh! You know the worst part was that I bought it digitally too. I was like, oh man, this seems like a good game to play digitally. Oh man, I feel so bad. But you know what? We'll see. I'm not gonna talk about that game right now for Backlog Busters, but that's in like my way back backlog. So.
Sergio, you got any others?
No, I'm good. I'm good.
What about you, Kevin? Any more?
Yeah, I got one more. A game called Flint Hook, the action platformer
Oh,
and roguelike.
yes.
Yes. I really like the art style, and like the music is very upbeat. You know, it has that pirate sort of feel, you know, the space pirate, you know, going from ship to ship. And like I like the challenge of it too, cuz you know, the levels are procedural generated, and you know, the pixel art and just the way it play, like just the different challenges and the enemies that come. There's times where, you know, as Mr. Perfectionist, I want to get all the items, all the treasure and all that. But there were times where I'm low on health. I gotta just beat the boss and get to the next level. I mean, so I played it for about a few hours, and then, you know what? Like, for some reason, after I beat the first wave, first level, same thing. You know, I just stopped playing, and ironically, Rocket League.
Oh.
Rocket League was the culprit
It's
this
spreading.
time. I know.
Here it comes.
Here it comes. You know, I can't help it because, I mean, you know, like, it was a time when I was playing Rocket League that I want to get better at it. And, you know, I was playing with, you know, you guys and other people in another community. And, like, it was just super, I was just more into Rocket League. And then I was like, yo, Flint Hook, you know, you're off the hook today. You know, I got to play Rocket League for the next, like, you know, 70 hours. So, but for real though, Flint Hook is the fourth in my list that I want to get back into. So
Yeah, the game looks cool. I never picked it up or tried it. It's just never been there for me, but it looks super cool.
yeah, you know, I'm gonna quote from Wikipedia, but it was inspired by other roguelike games such as Spelunky and Rogue Legacy. So I mean, if you can like combine those two and put a space pirate theme, that's Flint Hook basically.
That's awesome. Well, sweet, we got through it.
Great.
That's our backlog. It's done. Congratulations.
Yeah, claps all around.
Hey, I do want to say for any listeners in our Discord chat, we actually do have a channel called Backlog Busters that people are kind of listing them. A few people have listed some like really interesting point systems for like, you know, certain games are worth certain points and you can't buy a new game unless you get a certain amount of points.
Right.
That's really fascinating to me. It's not something I will ever do, but I really like the effort there. So no, if you find yourself in a similar predicament and you have way too many games, you know, definitely drop by and tell us about them. I think it's kind of a fun channel so far.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear about different people's, you know, backlogs because, you know, all the backlogs are unique, you know, depending on what we like and why we want to play those games but haven't had time. You know, it's always good to see, you know, from time to time, like what our stack of games look like.
All right, awesome. So I think we're gonna jump into our next topic. Kevin, what is it?
It is Mr. Mail. Yeah, you know, it's one of your favorites. It's one of our favorites. It's one of their favorites. It's a favorite. So, Listener Mail, coming at you live. We got a bunch of questions that we are going to answer. So, first up on the plate, Llama Libre. Shout out to Llama Libre again. He says, I got a question for y'all. Do you have any games you were hyped for and may have already talked about, but have since cooled off on it and maybe changed your opinion? Sergio, we're going to start with you.
Nice. And I do. The series came to mind fairly easily because it happened recently. So you may recall me discussing the series Danganronpa in a previous episode. It's I guess it was a favorite point and click and visual novel series for me. But like I said, something happened recently that really put me off. So About 2 months ago, I was playing one of the spin-off. Well, the only spin-off in the series. So since it's the only one, it's still kind of significant. So I get to this part where a dying father leaves a letter to his daughter, and the letter is very nice and touching and cheerful, and I'm thinking, man, this is unusual for Danganronpa. This is pretty heartwarming and nice. I kind of like this. And then something terrible is said in the letter, and it literally turned my stomach. It made me feel sick. I finished the letter, and I was just walking around in circles in the game, just kind of trying to process what happened. And when I finally gathered my thoughts, I said, you know what? I'm done with this. I didn't even save. I turned off the game. I took out the disc and put it away. I'm not gonna bother
Ooh.
with that series anymore. Actually, if there's ever a part four, there's a very good chance that I'm not gonna care about it. Cause my thinking was, I don't need this. I don't need negative stuff in my life, even if it's in a game. Give me positive, give me cheerful, give me hopeful. I'm all for games making me feel something different. That was the initial reason why I liked Danganronpa in the first place. But with this letter, I think it crossed the line, and I wasn't going. I guess I wasn't going where the game was going.
That's a pretty bold statement. I mean, and to
Yeah, good for you though.
yeah, that is. I mean, I think it's just one of those moments where you enough is enough, and I
Right.
mean, if a game does that, I mean, I don't even know what it was that you are referencing in the letter, but I feel like there's certain boundaries that I feel like games should keep off of, and they should be more considerate. I think, even if they had a positive thinking in mind, but to others it may not come off that way. So,
Right.
um,
Right.
and I mean, yeah, like what Daryl said, good for you. I mean, it's more power to you too, because if with the medium that we play in video games, it could get a little tricky.
I do the same thing with television shows.
Mm.
Actually,
Hmm.
from time to time, the hottest show on television will just be kind of a downer. Like,
Right.
and you'll be sitting there watching it. At least I will. I'll be sitting there watching it, going, "This is depressing me. Why am I
Yeah.
doing this to
Why?
myself?"
Right. Right.
Like,
Yeah.
it's literally called entertainment. Why am I watching this poor sap just ruin his life? I don't get it. Um, and
Right.
and I'm okay with that. I'll watch comedies and things like that. I play. I've said this before on the show. I play games that feel like video games just because I like them.
Right.
So it's funny. The more I grow up, the more I realize that I just kind of just like having fun, and that's just kind of where I land on it.
Mm.
Nice.
Fair enough.
So I don't have a answer for this of any game that I've talked about on the show or any game that is coming out that I've cooled on. Typically, I don't do that unless something really odd is shown about it or something. Typically, if I'm hyping a game, then I just pretty much stay hyped about it. Crystal Chronicle.
Yeah.
I'll pretty much stay the same throughout the cycle unless something else comes out about it that I think is really bad. The one thing I want to say that sometimes when a game actually comes out and I play it, that's when I'm like, oh,
Right.
uh, oops, and
Mm.
probably the most recent. This is a little disappointing for me to say. Probably the most recent is actually Mario Tennis, and
Yeah.
I
That's,
I think I told you guys before the show. I think I probably played more of that free tournament demo thing
Oh wow.
before the game actually came out than the
Mm.
game itself, and there was just something weird about it. Like it came out and I'm playing like these extremely long volleys against people, and I don't know. It was just kind of. I don't even know why I didn't like it. It was just kind of frustrating to me, like constantly, just kind
Hmm.
of frustrating. I'm like, and eventually I got to the point I'm like, you know what? I'm done. I got to the finals in a tournament and I lost it. I had won a couple, so it wasn't like I was all that mad about that or anything. But I got to
Right.
the finals. I lost it after a really long set. I probably played this guy for like 30, 40 minutes.
wow,
Right?
Oh
that
wow.
is really long for
Yeah,
Martinez.
like a really, really like we were in tiebreaker for forever. And I lost it, and I just I was like, okay, I'm done. I sold the game, and that was my Mario Tennis story.
Yeah, you know what? I got a surprising one for you. Because for me, the game that I was hyped for but since I've cooled off, is Mario Tennis Aces.
Yeah.
No, I mean jokes, but it's not a surprise because, like Daryl, I was very hyped for the game. I even said stuff like "Hype Machine Dance Supreme." I was so like in my own bubble. Like I was so hyped for this game. I always like spam like Mario Tennis Aces, and I just got so crazy about it in our chat, just with you guys and all that. And I mean, y'all know how excited I was for the game, and I know how excited Dragon was for the game. Because shout out to Dragon again, because he is a really good Mario Tennis player. So he got me hyped up. I got hyped up. Everybody got hyped up, and then when the game came out and I started competing, like in tournament levels and all that, like it something fell off for me because I thought that the trick shots and the zone speeds and whatever, I thought it would feel great, but there were certain characters that were OP, like Bowser Jr. and Waluigi, and I don't know, it just felt too one dimensional. People were just spamming that, the back trick shot left and right. Even though they updated the game later on, like that killed it for me. I was just like, man, I'm not. I mean, I think I did win a few tournaments as well, but man, it wasn't the fact that it was hard. It was just the fact that I didn't have fun doing it. At one point,
Right, exactly.
at one point, I was like, I had to win to have fun. And I said this before. It is terrible to have that sort of mentality because when you have to win to have fun, it's like it just puts so much stress on you, and if you lose, you just explode. Well, I didn't like really yell or anything. I was just like very muted. But I mean, you can imagine that was pretty sad because like, oh man, like how can this game is like putting this ball and chain on me? And then I started getting to more of the simple tournaments. Like
Shout out to Chain Chomp.
shout out to Chain Chomp, pretty awesome character. I started playing more of the simple tournaments where they didn't have the trick shots and the zone speeds and the zone shots, special shots. And I actually had more fun playing the simple mode than the standard mode. And even though I didn't win as much as I did in the standard mode in the beginning, I had a lot more fun with it because I felt like that game in simple mode relied more on skill. You don't have to spam the back trick shot all the time. Now, I know a lot of people might say it differently, but simple mode I thought was more enjoyable. And I kept playing simple mode until the doubles mode came out, and I had the opportunity to pair up with Dragon, and we had a good run. We won some tournaments, so thank you, Dragon. It was pretty awesome, to pair with him, and we did lose a little bit, but it was still fun nonetheless because I had fun playing doubles, and I just wish that that mode was there at the very beginning because I felt like
Right.
it would have
Right.
given a different look on how to play tennis because doubles it's a totally different game than singles. You gotta it's a lot more volume, a lot more net play, and I felt like the trick shots and the zone speed things, those techniques apply better in doubles than it did in singles. I mean, you're not gonna see someone like spam the back trick shot all the time. So, given the fact that they did update the game a lot, but I mean, I just cooled off, man. And I bought it digitally because I thought I was gonna play it all the time, but yeah, I didn't really play all the time. I just played here and there, and that's it. So
Yeah, pretty much. That's what I got for it. You want to go to the next question?
Swaddle says, I have a similar question for you guys. Is there a game that you were excited for, picked it up, and for some reason didn't care for, but then later got back into it, and it finally clicked for you? Sergio, gotta go with you, man. What is your answer?
Sounds good. And I'm gonna twist the question a little bit because it kind of makes me think of a game that I enjoyed more the second time I played through it. And that game happens to be a favorite of yours, Daryl. It's Zelda the Wind Waker.
Ooh.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so, the first time I played it back in 2003 when it came out, I liked it. It was shorter and easier and not as good as my benchmark at the time and probably still now, Ocarina of Time, at least when it comes to Zeldas. And I thought the big sea overworld was a little too big for its own good. It was slow, it's kind of boring. It didn't entice me to do pretty much any of the side quests back then, to the point that when I finished the game, I thought, man, I'm kind of glad that this is over. But in 2011, in sort of in anticipation of Skyward Sword,
Oh.
Oh
I got
no.
into
Uh-oh.
I got into Zelda mode, and I replayed pretty much all of the console games. I even played Minish Cap. That was the only portable one that I replayed. And so when I got to Wind Waker, I don't know why, I don't know what changed, I don't know what happened, but I really, really enjoyed it this time around. I got into the story. I got into all the character development, the side quests, even things like the non-playable characters, the way they interact, the way the world is, and it's very well developed. It has the cartoony look for a reason, and they just went with it, and it's amazing to look at, amazing to play, very, very detailed. So my second playthrough with the game, I really enjoyed it, and it's really up there for me now
Mm.
in terms of the Zelda console games.
It's funny that you say that because it actually had a cultivation time with me too,
Oh,
and so I played it initially. I liked it. I beat it, and I moved on. And then like a couple of years later, I started feeling nostalgic for that game for some reason. And then now it's you guys have heard me talk about it. It's among my favorite games now, and it kind of elevated itself over time for no real reason. But now I go back and replay it, and I'm like, oh, this game's a masterpiece. This game's the best. This is fantastic. So it's not just a memory thing. Like I still really like to play the game, which is important. But yeah,
nice.
it's grown since its initial impression. I wonder why that is. Interesting.
Yeah, that's cool. And kind of alluding to my joke earlier, I'm hoping the same thing happens with me for Skyward Sword. 'Kay, I feel like for whatever reason I didn't like it, and I kind of feel strongly about it, but I hope there's ever a remake, hopefully without motion controls, and it's gonna turn things around again. Hopefully.
This Wind Waker game, it's one of the very few games that when I first played it on the GameCube, I remember the music, the da 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 do do do, just that melody. It really got to me back then when I was in eighth grade, and then I played it. Unfortunately, I did not beat it, but I played it for a while and then I stopped. But then I kept coming back to that music. I would actually turn on the GameCube and just play that game and just listen to that song and just go on the ocean. And
Oh.
and the more I did that, the more I just fell in love with the music. And it's one of the pieces that I still remember the tune to this day. Um, and also the cell shade polygon, like just the art, like I mean Toon Link, like that got me into Toon Link for Brawl, that got me into Toon Link for um
Nice.
Smash 4, that got me to Toon Link for
Yeah.
I mean Smash Ultimate. So I gotta tell you right now, that is my favorite Link. Like just the art style, the way it looks, even the play style as well. I really like Toon Link. So
It's still my favorite combat of any Zelda game. Like
hmm
just the way the combat feels in that game it flows really really well.
Mm.
Like even to the point of like stealing the items from the characters with the grappling hook and stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's so trolly. It's great. And you said stuff about the music. This is one of the only Zelda games that is actually a direct sequel to another one.
mm.
And it starts out with the lore from Ocarina of Time, and then a lot of the music is actually remixes of the Ocarina music. So, like the Outset Island theme is a remix of the Kokiri Village, and there's a lot of that in that game. Just little hints here and there of this is the same type world as Ocarina was. So
Right.
there's a lot there. It's just a good game.
Good stuff. What you got, Daryl?
All right, for me, so the question is games that you were excited for, then kind of cooled off, and then came back to, and actually ended up liking. This is the Mario cycle for me. And this is what
Oh.
I was kind of alluding to earlier. I always do this with Mario games, and I don't know why that is. And specifically the Mario like platformer games, like the 3D Mario's in particular,
Mm-hmm.
where every game, I've gotten it, I've played through it, I've liked it, or maybe I haven't liked it, and then I'll wait a little while on it, I'll come back and play it, and then I'll binge it for like a weekend, and it'll be the greatest game for that weekend ever. It didn't happen so much with Mario 64, just because Mario 64 was kind of a revelation of the time. Like, I liked it at the time, and I'm still basically around the same
Nice.
level. Also didn't happen for Mario 3D World. That was
Mm.
like gold from the first moment. So, take that for what it is, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't happen for Galaxy, correct?
It did
Oh.
happen for Galaxy.
Oh.
So it started with Super Mario Sunshine, actually. So Super Mario Sunshine came out, and it was one of those games that it came out, I bought it, it instantly went into my backlog. I played maybe an hour of it, put it down, didn't pick it up for like another year and a half or something like that.
Oh, wow.
When
Damn.
we went to some family's house for about a week, and I packed my GameCube and a bunch of games, and it was among the games I packed, and that was the game I played that week, just period. I don't know why I did, but I played it all the way through, loved it, great. It was fantastic. And then Galaxy comes out, and it was almost exactly the same thing happened. Bought it, sat on my shelf for about a year, eventually played it when I just didn't have much to do at the time. Played all the way through it, really liked it. I don't know. I don't know why I do this, but this is the Mario cycle for me. And I'm kind of expecting Odyssey might have the same flair.
Oh, so how far are you? I mean, you beat Odyssey Road, right? Right.
I beat the main game.
Okay, so then
I beat the main game. I did not spend all that much time in the post-game stuff. And there is actually a lot of post-game stuff, and I didn't spend a whole lot of time. And even Mario 3D World, I beat the main game, and I beat a lot of the post-game stuff, but there's like this final challenge that you got to beat every level with every character. I didn't ever do that.
Oh,
but
wow.
3D World is the game that if they actually released the port on Switch, I would buy it and play it again.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is one Mario game that I regret not getting on the Wii U, and if they do release it on the Switch, I mean, you bet your butt I'm gonna get it. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's just weird. I don't know what causes me to do that, but just for whatever reason, Mario games, not all that hyped. Well, I am excited for them, then not all that hyped about them, and then they take about a year to grow. So I don't know.
You know, maybe it's because you know what you're expecting, like the platforming. Even if they tweak it a little bit, it's kind of like Call of Duty, but in a very, very good way. You know what I mean? Like, it's like you. That's probably a terrible example, but it's you know what you're getting into, but then there's other games that maybe pique your interest more. So you want to get it, you bought it, then you wait for about a year, and then it's like, oh wow, there's a Mario game that I actually want to get into, and then I think just the timing was exquisite enough where, like you said, like you didn't have other things that you like, maybe other games that you weren't interested in, and you just played the Mario game, went through it. So that might be a very common thing amongst gamers. So I'm sure you're not alone in that.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
That's cool. Maybe games have like a fermenting period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out to fermentation. I guess.
Okay, that's probably the weirdest shout out we've ever done. All right, Kevin, what's your game?
All right. Okay, so my game that I was excited for, picked it up, and then stuff happened that I just stopped playing or didn't care for, and then I got back to it later. And it clicked for me was Rocket League. So I bought Rocket League. I got it on the PS4. And initially, I was so excited. I was like, hell yeah, car soccer. I mean, one of the best things in life. Well, at the time I thought it was one of the best things in life because, I love the soccer sport, the sport of soccer, and just watching the Premier League, football, Premier League, and even MLS. And then I had a decent level of interest in cars. So I was like, all right, boom, combine them together. Then I played with my former college housemates, back then. And then, like, we got into it, but then I just was terrible at the game. Like, I wasn't good at defending. I completely whiffed shots. And then, like, my housemate in particular, he was like, "What are you doing, Kevin?" You're like, "Oh my god!" And then, like, there was just like a couple times where I unintentionally hit into our own goal. A couple times, one match, and then another time, another match. I was like, "Oh gosh, like, what am I doing? Like, maybe I'm not fit for this game." So I just said, "Fork it. I'm not playing this game anymore. I'm done. Dunzos. Goodbye." But then
And he never played again.
I never played again until it came on the Nintendo Switch. So I got it back for Nintendo Switch. I was like, I'm gonna give it another shot. I'm not gonna be too salty about what I did before because I was kind of like down in dumps and I didn't really care about it as much. But then I met you guys. We started playing a lot more, and then other people within the same community, and it just reinvigorated my confidence to play this game. You know, I played 2v2. There was like one tournament I played with Daryl. Shout out to you, Daryl. And then I played. I played with, as I mentioned before, I played with Shy Guy and Arrow. Shout out to Shy Guy and Arrow in the 3v3s, and you know it was just really fun. Oh, shout out to you, Sergio, because we played together a lot. So, a lot of shout outs today. So, I just had so much fun playing with you guys, and just getting better at it too, because Daryl, you gave me pointers on how to play better defense, and I just got more into it, and I just played with more passion. I practiced a lot more. I committed to this game a lot more, and it just clicked for me. I'm like, yo, I can play this game too. So there you go. That's Rocket League for me. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I think we got time for one more question. So, Kevin, you want to take us away?
Yeah. I got one by Maul Hillian. Shout out to Maul Hillian. Man, we're doing a lot of shouts today. Oh, like it must have been like 15 already. Okay. If you guys were the presidents of Nintendo for one day, would you change anything in the company, such as corporate decisions, new games, or something else? Sergio, what would you do?
Here's what I would do. I would talk to each of Nintendo's partners or second parties, like Retro Studios, Intelligent Systems, Next Level Games, those type of partners that Nintendo has, and they have a bunch. So I would talk to the president of each of those, and I would tell them, give me a list of 3 games that your team would want to make, like your most wanted games to make out of any Nintendo IP, new or old, doesn't matter, anything goes. Just give me the list. And then I would take all of the lists and I would rip them like this.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
And I would laugh like crazy for the rest of the day. No, no, no. So, so
President, not dictator. President.
oh, okay, okay.
It's not the
Let me
same
change
thing.
that. No, no. So I would take the list, developer and their 3 games, and then I would actually open it up to the gamers, to the community, to the fans, to vote on whatever each company was gonna make. So if it turns out Retro is gonna make a Zelda, hey, go for it. Intelligent Systems is gonna make a real Paper Mario. Yes, thank you. uh, Alpha Dream is gonna make a new Mole Mania. Hey, that's awesome to me. So I kind of wish more companies did that. Open it up to the fans. You're not gonna make the most money that you would if you plan your business, because business is money and they have plans for everything. But I feel like if companies did this and open it up to the community, you wouldn't make the most money. Maybe you would even lose some money. And I think that there's times when that's okay. That should be okay. You're gonna gain fans. You're gonna get the respect of your fans. You're gonna gain a lot of love and admiration from your fans. You're also gonna get a lot of hate mail, and that always comes with it. So, it doesn't really matter. So yeah, that's what I would do for that day.
Sweet.
That's an awesome
Yeah.
answer. I don't want to follow that. No, I guess for me, probably my top priority would be getting back some of the big third parties.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of, so I mean, even back as far as the GameCube, like Switch had a ton of third party games, like a lot of them, or the GameCube did, and we're just barely starting to bring it back. But for example, I would if I were president of Nintendo, I would feel personally kind of offended that Madden isn't on the system, and go, say, hey, look, EA, your game, everybody's games sell better on our system. What's wrong?
Yeah, right.
And just try to get better relationships where they've kind of, fallen off a little bit in the past. And honestly, that would also include Microsoft. I would do a lot more collaboration type stuff between Nintendo and Microsoft, because I think that's healthy, and I think it's really cool every time it happens.
Yes.
Right.
So, Phil Spencer's been pretty vocal about wanting to do certain things. So, hey, let's can we borrow Rare for a second? Just little things like that would be, I think, kind of completely change the climate. I do think they're doing a lot more of that with Switch, and I'm really happy to see it. But there's still some dominoes that need to fall there.
Right.
Yeah. Well, there is that collaboration with, Nintendo and Ubisoft. So that's a very good first step. So maybe that might work its way to Microsoft in some way because Ubisoft does make games for both platforms. So
Yeah, for the record, I kind of I wasn't very nice to Mario and Rabbids earlier. I
Yeah.
love what they're doing with Ubisoft. I love the collaborations. I want more of them. I think that overall that's awesome. Even if the games don't necessarily perfectly click with me, it doesn't matter. It's awesome to see. The other thing I would do is, so everybody complains about Nintendo being 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, that kind of thing on,
Yeah.
especially like online services, things like voice chat, things like that. I
Right.
would actually spend some time really re-looking at that and kind of get away from the classic Nintendo culture of being really, really, really tight on all that, and just see what do we want to do, what do we want to be. And I have to think that phone app was not exactly the number one pitch there, and there were reasons that they did that. But I think, especially going forward, really reevaluate that going forward, get them kind of up to speed with like party systems. I don't see a reason why you wouldn't have party systems, things like that.
Mm-hmm. I feel like the friend code is still a very archaic system. I mean, I don't know. I feel like Nintendo should try to model their online like the way that Xbox Live does it or PSN because they've been doing that for a while now, and I feel like with just given their just the years that both are in where they are now, I think it's a good example, and maybe Nintendo can borrow something from that. So,
And I definitely think they're making really, really good strides in terms of pulling in indie developers, pulling in a lot of collaborations with new
right,
companies like this Atlas thing with Joker and Smash and thing. Atlas has been a Nintendo supporter, but Persona hasn't. So
right,
Right.
yeah,
it's just interesting to see that kind of thing. I think they're really on the right track there, and in particular, I love what they do with DLC. I think, in my opinion, they're probably the front runners in terms of DLC value of any company out there. Just if if you buy DLC from Nintendo, you're getting a lot of stuff and a lot of cool stuff. And they have these like really long running games like Splatoon and other games that are kind of following that format now. I think they're on the right track. It's just it's a little concerning when you see games like ARMS and Splatoon and Mario Kart and Smash Brothers all have completely different matchmaking structures for online play. I would have loved to see Smash come with exactly ARMS's party mode.
Yes.
Like I think that was
That would be
awesome.
great,
I think
yeah.
it was really, really well done, and the fact that that's just gonna potentially kind of live and die with ARMS is kind of sad to me. I
Right.
would have liked to see that. Get an arena with a bunch of people, and then it just kind of randomly pairs people off doing different things. Like, okay, you play teams, you play one-on-one. That would have been awesome. Like, I would have loved to see that, but yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Nice.
Those are good suggestions, and yeah, you never know. Maybe in the future they might do that. So we just have to go to www.petition.org and hopefully they can.
I don't think they care about that.
I don't think so too, but I'm just saying. Okay, anyway. All right, so for me, I would do two things. The first thing I would do is to restructure the Nintendo Online system thing. Not so much the online capabilities, but more so just what they offer per month. The NES catalog is nice and all, and yeah, it was cool to play hockey for the first time on NES, which is really great. But I personally did not think that's the best idea. I mentioned this before, where I felt like Nintendo could have taken advantage of this situation by maybe offering, a couple of indie games a month. Like, and they don't have to be like super like these indie games are super expensive. Like, just maybe like really small indie games that are just trying to get their name out there and offer to them for free, and be able to showcase more of the indie side because I feel like there are still a lot of people who aren't sold on indie games yet, even though Celeste has been, universally acclaimed to be one of the best games in the world, I feel like there's still people who are just leaning towards the AAA games and missing out on all these indie games. Even though it's gotten a lot better, this would definitely propel it a lot more and just further the case that indie games drive the industry and the creativity and just the way that we can look at games in different lights and perspectives. So if I were the president, I would offer just change that stuff up and be able to showcase a couple indie games per month and get rid of the NES catalog. Completely get rid of it. I'm going to go further and say that I'm glad that VC is not there anymore. I am glad that Virtual Console is not on the Switch. And I'll tell you why. Because it will take away all the attention that indie games are having. Because if you have the Virtual Console, people are going to gravitate towards nostalgia, this, nostalgia, that. And it will just be this never-ending bullcrap cycle that it's just not going to go anywhere. If you want to play old games, go on your PC or Mac, or get a GameCube, or get an NES. Like, that's why you have NES Classics, bros and sisters. Like, come on, man. Like, this is freaking ridiculous. I'm getting a little hyped up here. We got the NES Classic.
I don't think, as president of Nintendo, you want to recommend emulation, but that's
no.
Just
I know. I got a little ahead of myself there. I'm saying okay, jokes. All right. Scratch that part. All right, you shouldn't play emulation if I were the president of Nintendo, but.
Well, I mean, they have these nice classic systems, and I think they'll probably continue that. And I do expect some sort of virtual, they won't call it that, but some sort of. I think they'll expand the old games, but I think they're doing it slowly for a reason.
Yeah.
And the Switch is very quickly becoming. If you are an indie developer, you want your game on Switch. This has been a story practically since launch of this X game has done X% better than on Switch than any other console. Just recently that came out, Monster Boy.
Right.
Yeah.
The new Monster Boy game sold something like 8 times more on Switch than both the other consoles combined. So, I mean, it's just there's success story after success story. I think they're doing some really good things for indies and I think they could definitely showcase them even more. That's great.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, keep that momentum rolling for sure.
Right. And if you had the Virtual Console, it would just, you wouldn't have this momentum of all these indie games coming out and people paying more attention. So, and I know it's going to upset a lot of people when I say that, like, I'm glad that Virtual Console is not on the Switch, but I stand by it. And, I mean, there are certain games that are from, way back then that are sold separately on the eShop, so that's fine. I'm just saying that we don't need that Virtual Console anymore, and I'm glad it's not there. So that's what I would do. And no, I don't. As the president of Nintendo, I do not propose that you use emulation. I got a little ahead of myself there. Okay, anyway. But you know what? That is our listener mail for today. And yeah, Sergio, is there anything else that we got hyped up for people?
Well, it is time to jump on out of here. Thank you so much for listening. We do have to say, if everything we hear is correct and things happen the way we hope and the way they should happen, next week we should be discussing some Nintendo Direct reactions, hopefully.
Ooh.
If not, there's always next week, and if not, then rinse and repeat. It's always next week until it happens. So look forward to that, and also look forward to our next music episode. We're planning to have one in the next couple of coming weeks, so if you haven't done so, and if you have some tracks that you would want us to play, definitely get in touch with us via Discord, via our social media, via email. Send us your track, and we'll feature it in music episode number 3.
I'm excited for that one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, those are always good. Now, if you haven't done so, feel free to join our Discord group. There's a link to it in the description of this episode. We play a lot of Rocket League, Smash, any other game that you might be feeling. There's always somebody willing to play something, so check it out. You can also follow us on social media. We're on Twitter and on Instagram as NintendoJump. And we have a Facebook group as well that we would like for you to join. Our episodes are on YouTube. Feel free to leave us a comment about the biggest gem in your backlog or any comments that you may have on the podcast or future episode discussion ideas for us. We welcome your feedback via social media or and also via email at NintendoJumpPodcast@gmail.com. We ask that you please leave us a review on your podcast application of choice. We would really, really appreciate it. Once again, this is Sergio, and on behalf of Daryl and Kevin, thank you for listening, and we hope you have a great week. Bye-bye.
See you guys.
See ya. Sega.